Hello, this is Sandra Brown of Happiness Past 60. We're having a 4th of July celebration across the street from where I live. A few of the neighbors getting together and some new neighbors that just moved in. And this is a chocolate sheet cake I have not made for years. But I remember it being so good. And, if I wrote on there a long time ago, excellent, great icing, great cake. Then I'm looking at it again. I was like, this is kind of a strange recipe. But I remember it being so good. And this, when you go to something like this where we're all getting together and everyone's bringing something, sometimes you want to try a little bit of everybody's dessert. And the chocolate sheet cake gives you a nice thin slice and you get all the icing with it. This cake, I remember being really moist and really good. That beeping you heard was my oven I'm preheating. I decided to put it on 325 because I'm doing the, what do you call it? I'll get back to it. But 350 a regular confectioner. If it's a confectioner oven, it would be 325. So that's what I'm trying. I'm getting used to this new oven. It's not a new oven, but we haven't been here very long. And now this recipe came from an old cookbook, as you can see. And I must have tore it out. But I see it said on the bottom of one of them something about Chicago. So here we go. Now, you have to get a baking sheet that is 11.5 by 17 inch. And they wanted you to have, tall enough size, but I don't remember using anything but a regular baking sheet. And usually I take a little Crisco. I just didn't have it on hand and I sprayed it with some olive oil. I think the Crisco maybe works better because I had to kind of take some of that olive oil off. But olive oil is fine, but just you put it on with your hand. And then flour, you put just all-purpose flour on there and just start tapping the pan to get the flour to go all over it. And make sure you go up the sides so that your cake doesn't stick there. Okay, we're going to start putting this thing together. In a medium-sized bowl, put 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I've been using white lily flour. Miss Brenda uses it, so she's got me using it too. If you ever watch this, Miss Brenda, hi. I love you and watch you all the time. Next, add 2 cups of just plain white sugar. And last, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Okay, I changed this to a large stainless steel or a glass bowl. Like I said, I haven't made this for a long time, and as I was reading this, like, oh wait, we got some hot ingredients that's gonna go over this. So we don't want to have it in plastic. I'm big about trying to stay away from as much plastic as possible. But I mixed it all up with a whisk. So, all right, on to the next step. All right, next. I know the recipe, if you was looking at it, called for oleo. This is showing you how old this recipe is. And I've never used oleo in it. But I take 2 sticks of butter and 1 cup of water and 4 tablespoons of cocoa. So when we're saying cocoa, it's not the kind with sugar in it. Be unsweetened baking cocoa. Put all these ingredients on the stove and bring it to a rapid boil. Pour it over the dry ingredients in the big bowl. Stir that up a bit. Now we're going to add 1/2 cup of whole buttermilk and 2 eggs that I kind of beat up a little with a fork in a bowl. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and a dash of salt. This is all going to go in the big bowl. After you've added the buttermilk, the 1/2 cup of buttermilk, the 2 eggs, the 1 teaspoon vanilla, and the dash of salt, mix it up in a big bowl. It's kind of a thin batter. And it's going to be poured into the floured cookie sheet. For the icing, you'll need 1 stick of butter, 3 tablespoons of baking cocoa, and 6 tablespoons of buttermilk. Put it in a pan, and you're going to bring that to a boil, a rapid boil. All right, it's been in the oven, 325 for a convection oven, 350 for a regular oven, for 30 minutes. If you feel unsure, take a toothpick, go right in the middle of the cake, push down, pull it out. If there's no batter on there, it's done. You can feel it with your finger too. It should spring back. I'm gonna let that cool a minute, take a little break, and then I'm gonna make the icing. Bring the icing ingredients to a boil. Into the 1 stick of oleo and 3 tablespoons of cocoa and 6 tablespoons of buttermilk we brought to a boil. Now we're adding a 1 pound box of powdered sugar. You know what? I would sift that too. I'm using a spatula. I kind of been squashing out the lumps a little bit, but it'd be better if you sifted it. And then, so you've got 1 teaspoon vanilla and a box of powdered sugar, a 1 pound box. To this, you add 1/2 cup of chopped pecans. And stir this up, and we're going to pour it over the cake. Ooh. Okay, I'm just tasting this icing. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Oh. All right, and it's a good idea to, as you're pouring it over the cake, trying to distribute it as much as you can. And I use this big, I'm sorry I licked it, this big spatula. I didn't lick it until afterwards. But to smooth it all out. And do it quickly because it starts setting up right away. I wish you could smell that cocoa. Nothing tastes like that, like a good baking cocoa. All right, hope you enjoy that. If you make it, let me know. Bye-bye. All right, I cut a little corner piece out while it's still warm, just to try it. So, as you see, it's not too thick. That's really nice at parties. When you want to try a little of everything, here's where I cut a piece. So I'm gonna try it now. Oh.